I didn't have anything to do with that.
I knew I struck.
That's all
Mad
Dog.
With you guys.
I do. That's right.
I now celebrate there.
For Christmas, Coach, it was like, oh no. The next time he's on, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I know.
Yeah, well, I'm in a different mood now than Christmas. Christmas, you caught me in a soft moment.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I just celebrate their entire collection. I really did. Year round.
A lot of those were already in my library, Coach. I just had to move them to the playlist.
Is that going to be something that we got to get the guys upstairs to play between innings this year, or no?
No, we'll pass on that. We'll keep that. your show can have the exclusive on that. How about that? I'll send you some other tunes you can play as well.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. Oh well, welcome back.
Telephone Man. That one would work too.
Do you have that one?
Of course, I've got that one.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
I've got plenty of.
It's hour 2. Billy G's Carolina Barbecue presents the national anthem at noon every day here on Inside the Gamecocks. The show, Billy G's Carolina Barbecue, is also going to be selling barbecue all year at Founders Park beginning next week. They are the now official barbecue of Gamecock baseball when you show up to watch this guy's kids play ball, which will start at 4 o'clock on a Friday. It got here quick, dude. How's the preseason been?
Yeah, so far so good. It's like every other off season. You feel like you worked really hard, and we did, and we're prepared very well. You wish you go into it completely healthy, but there's always some nicks and bruises as you go into a season. You know, the ramp up period is probably too short for college baseball compared to Major League Baseball. They get 6 weeks to prepare. We get basically 3. So, you know, that part of it is tough, but look, we're all dealing with it. Every team in the country is dealing with it. So we're anxious to go. We've played a lot of inter-squad games, and we're anxious to play somebody else.
Yeah. So do you have any quick updates on Kimball and Becker? I know they're
both minor issues, you know, just lat issues, nothing that should keep them out for an extended period of time. But just little nagging things that just show up sometimes on pitchers. So nothing overly to be concerned about at this point, but we will be conservative early in the season with those guys.
All right. I think one of the neat things that you have at your disposal this year, at least as it looks in early February or mid-February, I guess now, is that you got a pretty deep bench over there, man. I mean, you brought a bunch of dudes in from the portal, and then from what I understand, you got some young guys that have been, you know, popping a little bit. You got to try to figure out what to do with them. And then of course you return a ton of veterans. So I'm not sure if you've had this deep of a bench this early, or at least thought you did since you've been here, but it sure looks like you've got a lot of options.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We can only start 9 guys, and we have more than 9 guys probably that think they're worthy of starting right now. And they're probably right. So because of that, maybe we'll play matchups early on. Maybe some days we'll lean towards the better defenders. Some days we'll lean towards the better power hitters. There's a lot of things to look at when you determine who to put in a lineup on any given day, the type of pitcher you're facing, what's the weather like. As we know, when the wind blows in Founders, it doesn't matter how hard you hit it, it's not going out. And then there's other days where any fly ball goes out. So sometimes that factors into your decision on who you play. We'll go with the hot hand at times, but I would say there's probably 12, maybe 13 guys that legitimately could start for us on any given night, and guys that have started a lot in the past, whether here or somewhere else, that may not open the season as starters. So I think that bodes well for us.
What's important in that for you being the head coach when you've got a bunch of guys that feel like they should play, they all clearly can? What's the important thing to make sure that you know they're all on the same page, you know, that there's no issues?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's human nature. Everybody wants to start, everybody wants to play and be the man, but only 9 guys can from the offensive side. So you just have to let them know that they're not buried. They're not, put in a position where you're not going to get your playing time at some point. But this is how we see it as of today. And so we just will continue to emphasize to these guys, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because you just never know when your name's going to be called. It could be in the middle of a game. It could be starting tomorrow. All those things matter, and you hope that you have enough leadership on the team so that there's no selfishness. Again, everybody wants to be the guy, but within the framework of a team. You just have to make sure that guys are all pulling on that same rope, whether they're playing or not.
Two guys, Coach, I'm intrigued by just storyline wise, because I guess when the portal class came together, or when you're looking at who's coming back next year, and we all play that game where we pencil in a lineup, including myself. I'm not very good at it, but including myself. Tyler Causey and Dylan Eskew. Tell us about those two guys and kind of their journey to opening day on Friday, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, well, those are two guys, those are two shrewd picks for me to talk about, because I'll start with Dylan Eskew. He is easily our most improved pitcher this year based on what he did last year. Dylan was a guy that's out of Tampa, Florida. So we knew him from when I was even back at USF before coming here, and some of the people that he was around. He started his career at the University of Miami, then transferred to Chipola Junior College, which is arguably one of the best junior colleges in the country. Had Tommy John while he was there. So we got him last year, pretty recently, coming off of Tommy John. And so last year he just wasn't quite himself. He wasn't quite what he could be. But another year further removed from Tommy John, now he's been really good. It's a 93, 94 mile an hour fastball with some James Hicks type sink and run. So that's something we're really excited about. For me, he's got a chance to be this year's James Hicks, where, going into last year, nobody really knew what James Hicks was. He had thrown 5 innings the year previous. And so going into last year, we kind of had an idea that James Hicks would be very important, but it took a while for everybody else to kind of see what we were seeing behind the scenes in practice. And so Dylan, for us, has been our most improved pitcher. We have a lot of confidence when he goes on the mound that he's going to help us win. And then Tyler Causey. Tyler is a North Carolina graduate. He was drafted out of high school. He's a South Carolina kid, but he still has 2 years of eligibility left because he had experienced so many injuries while in college. And he never quite found his groove. He had, a variety of injuries, and just never really, he had started at North Carolina, but then as soon as he found a groove, he would get hurt again. And so just one of those kind of careers there where it never all came together for him. So he took a year off from baseball, and he still has eligibility left. So we brought him in here. Monty had a contact that had recommended him and said, this kid has some interest. We brought him in, kind of low risk, high reward type guy. And he's just gotten better and better every month that he's been here. And now he's fighting to be in that starting lineup, and has done a lot of things that say he should be in the starting lineup. So it makes for a very interesting dynamic. Again, the different ways you put together your lineup, you have returning players, you have your younger high school guys you bring in, and then you have the transfer portal guys. So some combination of those 3 areas are going to be where we put our lineup together. So what I'm trying to do is try to marry, based on when we're making our decisions on who we should play, you factor in what were their numbers last year. You factor in, if they're a transfer portal guy, what were their numbers compared to the competition, where they were compared to what we're playing now. You factor in, loyalty in terms of who did what for you last year, but then if they're being severely outplayed this year by a new guy, how do you reconcile that? So there's a lot of different things that will go into who we put in the lineup. Again, they're all going to get a chance to play at some point, and at some point they'll be telling us who we should play based on how they're performing in games. They've had 9 months since we got here to show us who should be in the lineup since we started fall ball and had fall scrimmages and now spring scrimmages. So we're at a certain point in who we think has earned the right to play, but that will always change because, again, I'll be saying it for the next 20 years. Last year, Ethan Petrie was not in the starting lineup on opening day, but it didn't take long for that to right itself.
You got that right. He's definitely going to be in the starting lineup this year on opening day, and so will Cole Messina. I've got a pretty good feeling those are, I'm assuming, the 3 and 4 hitters in this lineup or something like that.
You got it. There's your scoop.
So there it is. There it is. Well, we nailed it, didn't we? But they're also preseason first team All-Americans. They've been handling that.
I think they're handling it great. I mean, they're just 2 guys that love to play. They love to be at the park every day. They work hard. They're competitors. You couldn't ask for anything more. And to have your 3 and 4 hole hitters be first team All-Americans, I think that speaks well for recruiting, for development, and for these guys wanting to be here. So yeah, those guys I wouldn't trade those 2 for anybody in the country.
Do you have Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to ask one more specific player.
Go ahead.
Dylan Brewer. Last year, he came in, did some good things, maybe up and down a little bit. He's sort of a long-term legend in the state. He was a guy that was supposed to have one of the highest ceilings of any player out there. Little Birdie told me he's been pretty good this offseason. What do you have to say about Dylan and the expectations for what should be his final year here at college?
Yeah, Dylan, of all our guys, I would say he may be the most multi-dimensional player, especially in the outfield, that we probably have. He's always been fighting to try to put it all together with the bat. He hasn't had that year where he hits 315 with 12 homers, like everybody thought maybe would be normal for him coming out of high school. But the thing with him is he just does a lot of things to help you win a baseball game. And some that may show up in a box score, some that may not. But he may be our best overall combination of speed. He can steal. I think he could be a 15 stolen base guy. I think he could hit double-digit home runs. And he plays, he can play left, center, or right at a very high level defensively. So he does a lot of things and brings things to the table that maybe some other guys don't, that we have on our team. We have some outfielders that can really hit, but maybe they don't run or play as good a defense. Dylan just is kind of a nice combination of all the tools you're looking for. He's our best one, if not our best, one of our top throwers out there in the outfield that, can neutralize a running game at times from the outfield. So he's a guy, he's a baseball player. He gets on base a lot. He's taking good at bats. He's gotten a little bit stronger from last year. So he's one of those guys you go into the season saying, well, Petrie's back. They added some good guys in the portal. So maybe he'll settle into a fourth outfielder. And that's not been the case. He's fighting to be a starter still. And I think that speaks to his competitiveness and his desire to keep getting better.
Do you have an idea? I know you have an idea. Are you willing to give any names as far as guys that you're considering to hit at the top of the lineup? Yeah,
I think you need to look at Blake Jackson. Blake Jackson is a guy that probably profiles as well in the leadoff spot as anybody we currently have. He's a Brett Gardner type guy. Like that's who he will remind you of, a Brett Gardner type player. Similar body type, similar grittiness. He's going to fight you. He may have a 10-pitch at bat to lead off a game. Just a guy that really is a nice table setter. So I would say that's probably the guy you're looking at as we enter the season. Like all things, it can change, but I would say that's a guy you're looking at as probably our best profile as a leadoff hitter.
So Will Tippett, I texted Monty last week because I saw a video of him. He doesn't look like Will Tippett from 2023. Walk us through that, what he's been up to the last, 6 months or so.
Yeah, well, Dean Smith said it way back. The biggest jump for players is from their freshman to sophomore year. And I would agree with that based on coaching now for a long time. Last year, he was a guy that just kind of was in the lineup because we had some injuries and some needs, and he was athletic enough to kind of hold his own, especially on defense and on the bases. Wasn't quite ready to be hitting at this level. Because he just wasn't strong enough yet. This offseason, he worked really hard in the weight room. He's put on muscle, and you can see he fills out the uniform a lot differently than he did last year. And so that has translated to all parts of his game. He's throwing better. He's got more range. He's running. He's swinging the bat much better from both sides of the plate. So he's a guy we think is going to take a nice step this year.
Is he better from one side or the other?
Are you going to tell our competition?
Am I going to what now?
Are you going to tell our competition so they know who to bring in from the bullpen? I'm going to assume that our competition's not watching this show.
Nobody watches this show, Coach.
So I will say last year, if you remember last year, Will started only hitting right-handed last year because last year the gap was like this between lefty and righty. This year, I would say the gap is much closer, and he's had some really good days left-handed. So if it's not 50-50 yet, I would say it's getting pretty close.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that. Different guy. I've always been intrigued by switch hitters because I remember, growing up with Smoke, he was a better hitter from the left side, but he had more power from the right side.
Well, it's a small world because, that small world that you bring him up today because he's in our ballpark today visiting with us, and he was in my office here probably 30 minutes ago. So, and we were talking about being a switch hitter and when he started and all that stuff. So is my office bugged in here or what?
Well, no, his phone is. I know where Justin is. But here's the good thing. You've got him in there in the between 10 a.m. and 3 a.m., which generally is while he's playing golf.
Yeah.
So this has got an important trip.
Well, we're honored.
old
Trust me,
Smokey.
we're honored.
Yeah, he's something special. So back into the bullpen, obviously Chris Veet's the name that always comes up, and I know you feel like you got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. How about Chris and his off season? We know about the changeup, but tell us how he has continued to develop to maybe end up being possibly one of the best closers in the country.
Well, we sure hope so. His stats last year, if you would have taken them out over a full season, if he had just been the everyday closer from day one, they could have been because the stats back that up. So we're hoping we get similar type production out of him this year. He had a little hip surgery after the season last year, which I think he's fully recovered from now. So he's an important guy for us. There's no question. If he's good in the back of the bullpen, that takes a lot of pressure off some other guys. So Chris has been doing well. He's a gamer. Again, he's as big a competitor as you'll ever see. So when he has the ball, we feel like we have a chance to win, and we should win.
What's when you bring in a new pitching coach, because you had Skyler, and then when Skyler took the head job at Troy, you brought in JP. Now, of course, he's gone, and now you've got Matt. We spent some time with Matt last week. He's so cool to talk to. What is that like for you as a head coach when you bring in a new guy? Joey Holcomb is obviously on the staff now, and getting them acquainted with your group, especially the pitchers. How do you kind of manage keeping those guys, steady Eddie from where they were with the last guy to being with the new guy? Is there anything that really ever changes, or do you just keep the
not a whole lot? No, not a whole lot. I mean, I'm a big believer in giving ownership to my assistant coaches, and I think they'll tell you that. I don't micromanage what they're doing. I ask them, to make sure that our overall general philosophies are where I think they need to be. But when I was an assistant coach coming up, I didn't want to be micromanaged, whether it was as the recruiting coordinator or as the hitting coach. And I don't want to do that to my assistant coaches. I want to give them ownership and trust them that you're going to be doing the job at a level that's required. And so I think my job is to support them, give them my 2 cents whenever I see fit, and then work through this together. So look, I love when my assistant coaches get major promotions, and Skyler being another one of my assistants that's getting to be a head coach now. I love that stuff. So, that happens in our game and our sport, and all sports at the NCAA level. So I think the key is just try to hire people that you think are really good at what they do, bring them in, give them the resources to do it, support them, but also make sure you just have a lot of communication as you go so that we're always on the same page.
We'll get a couple more and then we'll get you out of here, Coach. Keep hearing about this Ryan Bakes kid. I have not seen him play. Tell us about Ryan Bakes.
Ryan Bakes is a catcher / outfielder from Chicago. Big time power. He's probably 5'10", but built like a linebacker. Very strong. He also can run. He runs very well for a catcher. And you could see him catching for us. You could see him DHing for us. You could see him in left field. But his bat is very loud. It's a short, quick swing with strength. And when he hits it, it stays hit. He's leading our team in home runs so far this spring on a team that has 2 All-Americans. So I think that bodes well for him and for us. But he's got a chance to be that next great young hitter coming into our program, because he sees the ball well. He doesn't chase outside the zone very often. So he's beyond his years as it relates to being a young hitter in our league.
Another Chicago kid. Wow.
How'd you find him out of Chicago?
Well, don't forget, I coached in Illinois for a few years. My first head coaching gig was up there in Illinois. So we have contacts up there, and a couple of my assistant coaches that we've had over the years also had contacts up there. So, when you can get a Jack Mahoney or a Ryan Bakes out of Chicago, you do it. Those kids love coming down here to play in the SEC. So a lot of good athletes up there. I can tell you firsthand, there's a lot of good athletes coming out of Chicago.
And then the kid that went to the White Sox too was committed, and he was from up in Downers Grove. He was supposed to be like the baseball folks. I run into some high school baseball folks around here for some an AAU, and they talk very like South Carolina's like North Carolina basketball for those guys when you talk to them. So I'm always thrilled because I'm shocked at how these guys even get on the field. Right now it's so cold up here. I'm like, I guess there's probably some hidden talent because they only get to play 3 months out of the year. But anyway,
when you were up there at Illinois State, what in the world was this week like at Illinois State versus being down at South Florida or here in Columbia? I couldn't imagine the difference.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. As you know, when you go out of town for a road trip, the visiting team is allowed Thursday night to practice on the field that they're going to play the weekend series. So Miami of Ohio coming in this weekend, they'll practice on our field Thursday night to play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's just like professional courtesy that we all afford each other when we go out of town. There were multiple times when I was up there in Illinois that the first time our guys saw a fly ball under the sky or a ground ball on grass and dirt was that Thursday night practice before the season started.
Oh,
everything before that had been indoors. Like pitchers were facing hitters in cages. The only hitting hitters got were in those cages. Ground balls you got were on a gym floor. Like, it was a tremendous challenge. But look, you make the most of whatever you have and you go compete. And that's what we did.
That's my wife's alma mater, man. Illinois State. I'll never forget this Nat's alma mater. She's a Redbird. So you'll always be cool with me, Coach.
A lot of great people have come out of there. Doug Collins is from there. A lot of great people have come out of there.
Man, you got those guys to the NCAA tournament, playing in the postseason and not being able to do stuff like that until late in February is nuts. I don't even know how to explain that. So there's a lot of expectations, obviously, with back around this program. Well, there's always been expectations in this program, but get to the super regionals, you know how they start chirping, and rightfully so. People want to see the Gamecocks in Omaha. How do you manage that in program? I mean, these kids, they're on Twitter, Facebook, they hear it. Everybody wants to see them doing their thing. How do you manage that inside the locker room, as far as making sure they understand that, look, you earn your chance, and then when you get that chance, 8 teams go from there. It's not as easy as everybody thinks it is, but you got to manage it somehow.
Well, you do. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the only thing we can do in this building is work as hard as we can and then try to enjoy it. Because if you let the pressure get to you, you don't enjoy it, you don't play it very well. So I think the two main things to focus on are just working hard, and that's in your preparation to be the best player and team you can be. And let's make sure we enjoy it, because if you get uptight about it, if you let it affect you, it's no fun, not for coaches, players, anybody. So I think there's a kind of you bond together, and that's why we've done so many things to try to bond this team together, so that, look, let's have fun, let's go compete, and then everything else outside of those two things really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like the Fort Jackson stuff. That's pretty cool stuff. How many times did y'all go there? 3 times? Fort Jackson? 3 or 2?
3. Yeah,
3.
3 times.
All right, before we get you out of here, we have to. You have one. Do you have 1 extra minute with us? 1 minute?
Sure. For you guys.
You good with that? Okay, 1 minute. We have to get you into this because we're doing this with everybody. So we've got to get your responses to this new segment. This segment is sweeping the country. Everybody wants a piece.
Can I say no
but
comment?
Only so many. You can. Yeah, you can say no comment. But I think
if you'd like, you probably won't though. I mean, I think you're going to enjoy this one. It's short answers. It's short answers,
yeah,
so it's good.
Yeah, you'll answer. All right, Phil, give them the intro.
You're like,
Hi, my name is what? My name is my name is it's named Sadie. Hi, my name is my
okay.
name is what?
All right. So what we do is we ask you some random questions that people don't know about what you like or who you are and those type things, okay? Favorite M&M?
our favorite M&M?
Yep,
They all
favorite
taste
M&M.
the same.
They do.
They all taste the same.
true.
All of them.
That's true. They all
Okay,
do.
all right. Chicken fingers, chicken nuggets, or chicken wings?
Wings. Chicken wings.
Do you have a favorite wing?
Very hot with ranch.
Oh.
You got to go buffalo with ranch.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Good answer.
All right. pinch hitter. You can have a pinch hitter, bottom of the ninth. You got to have 2 outs. Got to have a big knock. Any hitter from any era in big league history. Who do you want?
I'll go with Manny Mota because if I'm not mistaken, he's the all-time leader in pinch hits in Major League Baseball. It's either Manny Mota or Minnie Minoso. It might be actually Minnie Minoso. I think that's my answer. Final answer.
Didn't see that coming. That's a great
beautiful.
answer.
That's a
I
great
did not
answer.
see that coming. All
Well,
right.
he's a baseball coach. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a great answer. You know?
Come on.
Game 7, bottom of the ninth. You got to shut it down. You can bring in any arm from any era in big league history. Who are you bringing in?
I'm going to go with Bruce Sutter because he's the only closer that I've ever spent an extended period of time with. When I was at Tulane as the recruiting coordinator, our pitching coach was Chad Sutter, his son. So he would come spend time with us and we would see him. So I'm going with Bruce Sutter and that split finger. Game over.
Ooh, we got a guy in the chat box who said he's going with Chris Veach. So I hope Chris Veach is like Bruce Sutter for Carolina. All right. Number 1 pet peeve in baseball. What is your biggest pet peeve out there? Drives you nuts.
Ooh, that's a good question. Disrespecting the game some way, somehow. The game is so good to all of us, so I would just say disrespecting the game. Whether it's not running out a ground ball or a fly ball, disrespecting a teammate if he makes an error behind you. I would say just overall biggest pet peeve is disrespecting the game or a teammate.
All right. Gum or seeds?
Gum.
Yeah. Skydive or scuba dive?
Scuba dive for sure. Billy Anderson went skydiving this fall. I had an opportunity to join him. Not in a million years. No shot am I jumping out of a plane. But I'd love to go. I'd love to go scuba diving and see all that marine life for sure.
I'm with you. What is the most exotic or random food you've ever eaten? Fair food, whatever.
That's a tough one there. I can't even come up with one. I'm a very boring eater. I don't like to experiment a whole lot. I don't know. I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that one. I'd love to hear some of the other answers, though, from the other guests.
We're going to get you on this one. This is the last one. I saved this one until the end here. What's your go-to line to get thrown out of a game?
Well, I can tell you, if you want to get thrown out, are you guys familiar with what the magic word is? Do you know what the magic word is if you want to get thrown out? I'm gonna give you guys a little insight here. It's not a 4-letter word. It's a 3-letter word. It's Y-O-U. If you want to get thrown out, you put that in front of anything, and you're getting thrown out. So you can say that call stinks, and you don't use the word stinks. You use something a little stronger. But if you say you stink, like if you put you in front of anything, you're out of there.
Crosses the personal threshold.
You can say the call is the worst call you've ever seen. I can't believe that call blankety blank. But as soon as you put the word you in there, it's over. That's the line. So that's pretty simple. That's how you get thrown out.
They're getting soft, man. They don't even let you in the circle anymore. You just want to go talk to them. They won't even let you in the circle anymore. It's getting insane.
Oh well, that makes sense.
I when I was coaching the 18s 10 years ago, I had a guy that told me if I said another word, he'd throw me out of the game. Well, that'd be the best call you made all day, and that was it.
Just the word "you," Jamie,
and you were in the parking lot.
You,
yeah,
that was it. Dude, we'll see you Friday. Can't wait to see you. Really can't wait to see your guys play ball. Thanks for all the time, man. I know we kept you way too long, but just fired up and excited, and well, anything we can do, we'll do it. But ready to go. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure,
Thanks, Coach.
guys. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to see you guys and all the fans out there on Friday night.